One of the questions we're often asked is, what does all this public relations and earned media stuff have to do with marketing, with actually generating business? One of the areas that is probably least well known about public relations is its impact on search engine optimization, or SEO. So let's look at kind of what you'd be interested in knowing about search engine optimization and PR. Normally, the goal is to get to number one in Google. You want to be above your competitors, and of course the inevitable Wikipedia link that contains deeply incorrect information about whatever it is you're trying to promote. A couple things to be aware of. Search engine optimization used to just be about links. Can we get a link from another site to our website? Because back in the old days, Google's algorithm was predominantly dependent on having links. A link was considered a vote for your website. If no one linked to it, then it didn't count. But that's changed a lot because Google's algorithm changes a lot. Google's trying to find more and more ways of figuring out what actually matters when someone's looking for something. So do things like social signals matter? Yes, they do actually quite a bit, especially it's unusually weighted towards Twitter and towards public Facebook stuff. Anything that Google can find and crawl. Of course, it should be no surprise to anyone that Google Plus, their own network, is probably rated and weighted highest in search rankings. So make sure that you are, anything you publish is going up on Google Plus. And then finally, of course, is the co-citation algorithm that Rand Fishkin from SEO Moz talked about recently, where Google is starting to look at what people are talking about on a page. So let's say you have public relations firms and Shift Communications in a New York Times or a Boston Globe article. Even if there's not a single link to Shift Communications, if enough sources cite the words public relations firm and Shift Communications together in the same text, on the Globe, on the Herald, and credible media sources, Google is changing, or is believed to be changing, its algorithms to say, you know what? Shift keeps coming up over and over again in the words public relations, so they must be about public relations. So what does this mean for you? A few things. Number one, it can't just be about linking strategy anymore. If you want to have the modern search results that matter, you need to have a social presence. You need to have earned media, not just your own, but also other people talking about you, other people that Google believes are credible. And you may want to have a little bit of a bias towards building out a good Google Plus network, because that's where Google's looking for its social signals. You also want to focus on citation. Get in earned media. Get in your local paper. Get on your local patch website. Get on the 5 o'clock news if you can. Any place where people would be discussing or talking about your brand and the keywords, the phrases that matter most to you. You want to have that in your earned media strategy. A couple other things. After the basics, like having a page that can be read online, or having a mechanically and technically correct website, on-page doesn't matter very much anymore. Page title matters, but really, all the things that we used to do in the old SEO days, like bolding all the keywords on page, doesn't matter anymore. The reason why is that Google is basically saying we're going to discount anything we can discount that you can manipulate. So what we want to do is we want to focus on the basics, make sure the web page works, make sure it reads well for a human being. So if your content is so stilted because you're trying to cram every keyword in possible, chances are it's not going to be all that interesting. And then remember that all media strategy is basically content plus network. If you have great content, it may or may not get found. If you have a great network, people can follow you and find you and talk to you. If you have both of them together, you have an unbeatable strategy, because you can take your great content, share it with your network, and make it blow up. That's where really the value of PR with SEO is. You have the great content, PR can provide the citation, some of the social, maybe even some of the links depending on who we're working with in terms of bloggers and blogging outreach and stuff. Those two together, you will improve your ranking and get to the places you want to be. One other thing really important, the number one ranking doesn't really matter much these days anymore, because as Google pushes more and more people to use Google Plus, as Google pushes people to use all their personalization stuff, if you're signed into Google, you're going to see different results than if you're not signed in. So if you have a Google app on your mobile phone, for example, you were probably signed into a Google service, in which case your search results are going to be personalized. I will almost always see Shift Communications as my number one selection in search rankings when I'm talking about PR agencies. Not because it's globally dominant, but because I've shared it so many times in my network that Google says you obviously want this to be what you find when you talk about a PR agency. People who are connected to me, to my network, are going to see Shift higher up in the rankings than, say, they would if they were not connected to me, or they were connected to somebody who worked for one of our competitors, because that's how the personalization engine works. And the more people who use Google+, the more people who use these personalization services, the more powerful that will be, and the less the generic #1 ranking will matter. So bear that in mind. If you are looking at an influencer outreach strategy, look for some people who are influential on Google+, because those are the folks whose rankings will be shown to their friends and their circles. And if your links are in there higher than your competitors, even if it's not as high in the generic listings, you'll do better. I hope this very short video about how SEO and public relations work together is helpful. Please leave a message, a newsletter at shiftcom.com if you want to give some feedback on it. Thanks for watching.